Sheena? Because you want to be able to find someone who can give you, all right, give the person, the ability and knowledge to distinguish the good life from the bad. You have to find someone who can give you both the ability and the knowledge. Curious kind of knowledge. Right? It's the knowledge to distinguish the good life from the bad, obviously. Right? To distinguish it. Always, everywhere, both now as well as hereafter. And the point is that we must always choose the best that the conditions allow. That's his standard. Wherever you are, you might find yourself in all kinds of strange situations and circumstances. Your problem is that you have to choose the best that the conditions allow for you. Condition. All right. Now, what do you have to do now? Let's assume that. Now, let's go get into it more fully. What kind of knowledge is it? This is a really curious kind of knowledge. He says you have to get someone who can do the following. The person has to know, right? He has to know. Now, over here is beauty. Now, I'm putting down here the different kinds of experiences of beauty. And this person has to know what kind of beauty combines best with poverty and wealth. Combined with the habit of the soul. Combined with the habit of the soul. Especially as it operates for good and bad in your choices. You want to be able to talk to someone who can tell you how all of this is affected by high and low birth. Your past, your inheritance, where you were born, your culture that you brought with it, right? Whether or not you take a private position in life or a public, whether you're in the public or whether you have a private life, that's going to play a role. Most essential, of course, from what we said before, comes very important here. He has to know the degree of strength and weakness, the role it plays in this whole problem, right? Strength and weakness. And the role that, you could put it in many ways, but essentially a quick mind and dull. And that's the goal. That's what you have to do. And while you do all of this with him, you have to continuously, right, have one feature in mind, and that is you always have to have your eye on the issue of the nature of the soul. So, now let's go back. All right, let's take a look at it once more. There are many kinds of experiences of beauty. This person should be able to advise you, right, what kind of beauty combined with your condition of wealth or poverty, the kinds of habits you've developed in your soul, that is the way you live, that particular automatic ways of being, both when you do something good and when you don't. Another way of putting that, I don't like the habit of the soul. Let's see if we can change it a bit and say the habitual way of the soul's functioning, the way you function. Then the person should know the effect of a low birth, family background, right? Low birth, all the effects of a low birth, and equally well, the effects of a high birth in this quest. Have to know whether the person is living a private life or public life. You have to play that in, how much strength, how much weakness they have, how bright and how dull they are. This is curious, and while all of this is going on, you have to keep your eye on the nature of the soul. We got to straighten this out. Right, now that we have this, the method, let's look at it again. Is it likely that the habitual way in which you function brings you to certain things, certain ways of life that you can judge from your own background, leads you sometimes to what's good and what isn't? Would you agree that habitual way in which you function is also influenced by the amount of resources you have? That's not all you are. You came into the world with a whole background, your birth, your whole tradition. You can have a low birth, as it were, a high birth. That in itself isn't enough. Then the life you choose to live, whether it's out in the public or private, is going to play a role. Your own strength and quickness of mind is going to play a role to determine what? What kind of beauty can best be mixed and can be combined with what kind of poverty and what kind of wealth or your resources that you have, right? With the habitual way in which you're functioning. So let's see whether we can draw a picture. We would expect this person then, presuppose there is someone who has this kind of knowledge, all right? Along comes you, all right? You have a quick mind, or you wouldn't be here tonight. Right? You have a certain degree of strength and weakness, whatever that is. All right, let's kind of put a measure there. All right, a certain quantity of let's call it quality of vitality. That's a better way to put it.
How about enthusiasm?
Oh, I'll put that in there with vitality. That's a good one to put in, right? All right, you come, right, and you have a certain degree, a quality of vitality about you. Right? Right, so you're right, quick mind, right? Therefore, you have a certain quality of strength and weakness, all right? If you have time to live a private life or you're out in the public, that's going to play a role, because obviously if you have a private life, you can do more introspection than you likely could with public, or you'd have to reserve a certain amount of time in order to do the reflective side if you did leave a public life. So let's say you have sufficient private time, let's call it that. All right, if you have sufficient private time, then you can engage in what we're going to be doing. All right, now you're going to have to deal with your own past inheritance in terms of where you came from, your birth, your background. Right? That's going to play a role. And with it is going to be what you have developed as a habitual way of being. Right? So your personal way of being.